I'd love to hear, obviously without going and opening the hood up, but tell me about a real world security story and a lesson or takeaway that we can learn from it.
Well, that's a tough one. Let me think about this for a minute. Actually, I do have one. So when we look at dealing with health data, there are regulations about how we deal with U.S. health data. U.S. health data, generally under HIPAA guidelines, needs to be hosted in the United States. And that means that people that connect to it also need to be coming in at least to a system in the United States. You can have offshore development, you can have offshore support, but they have to connect into local systems. Now it gets complicated though, because generally I want to know if someone is connecting into our data, our systems from outside of the United States, or even say from an unusual location in the United States. If we don't have anybody that works for Integra that resides in Alaska, for instance, Alaska is a U.S. state. You could live in Alaska and work for us, but we know for a fact, let's say, for the sake of argument, that no one is in Alaska that works for us. Now, what if we get some sort of SIM hit or alarm or notification that there are connections coming in from Alaska? Well, we would have to look into that. But what if we had connections coming in from Southeast Asia, where we know in this case we don't have any offshore support? So we've had incidents recently where we get alarms because we have a SIM in place, we have an MSP that manages for us, we get alerts, and we may get alerts for connections or attempted connections from outside of the United States. Now, attempted connections, that happens all the time. That's going to happen every few seconds probably. But a successful connection, that's a problem. And we actually recently did have a successful connection from an IP address in Iceland.
Huh.
Now, it's interesting. Why would someone, Iceland of all places? Well, it turns out that someone that works for Integra legitimately had a VPN installed on their phone so they can connect into Iceland because the Netflix accounts are different there. You can see different, how you can
Yeah.
view different shows and you don't have to pay extra. So that is a real world example that ended up being funny. But I would tell you this, for a few hours that morning, it was an early Saturday morning, we were scrambling trying to figure out if we'd been breached. No, it's actually someone on their personal phone connecting and VPNing into Iceland to watch a show on Netflix. So that was a funny one. Sometimes they don't end up so funny, but it does go to show you, you never know when you get an alert what you're going to find.
No, that's amazing. And thank you for sharing that. That's a hoot. I VPN in through a couple different countries for my Netflix account as well, because man, sometimes you can get just better programming. So
Hey, I'm on your side. I agree with you. I just don't like it when I have to look at the alerts for it.
fair enough. Fair enough.